Good day everyone, I'm John Mercdo Humos. Starting our topic on the quotation, "Risk come from not knowing what you're doing" by Warren Buffett. And for today's topic, it symbolizes how precious time is, whether in business, within the society, or life in general. Let's answer the question, have you been into a situation where so much time are being wasted with unnecessary activities? And to answer that, it's a yes. I myself wasted so many time to unimportant things and cannot deny that. Number 2, on time that your mind is so jammed up, you do not know which one to do first. So if this is the case, our topic, which is the Pareto'S principle, will answer that question. Beginning our topic to these Pareto chart examples. As we can see, there are different lanes that Pareto chart looks like. And now, let's talk about the historical notes of Pareto's principle. The Pareto principle is named after Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who in 1906 observed his country Italy and found out that 80% of its land was owned by only 20% of the people. And this particular study extended and found out that the 80-20 thing also transpired in other country. It means that hindi lang ito sa Italy kundi sa iba pang mga bansa. Furthermore, the Pareto principle, now mostly called as the 80-20 rule, does not imply land ownership only. It can actually be seen in many aspects of society, business, and life in general. So masasabi natin, it is almost everywhere na talaga. Let's take a look on that particular everywhere that we're pertaining to. In business, this data is actually based on statistics. Hindi man ito precise pero near approximation. 20% of the workers produce 80% of the results. 20% of the customers create 80% of the revenue. 20% of the products for 80% or of 80% of sales. In conclusion to that, by knowing what you're doing and it's in the right way, you can maximize the sales, revenue, or the result. You will gain the 80%, even though you put 20% of whether your products, workers, or the customer.
Yung Pareto's principle naman po within the society, ito po yung mga examples. 20% of criminals commit 80% of crimes. 20% of beer drinkers drinks 80% of beer in the world. 80% of factories pollution originates from 20% of all factories. 20% of students have grades 80% or higher. Yung Pareto's principle naman po, life in general, ito po yung mga example. Una po is 20% of an average person's activity is the reason for 80% of his progress. 80% of happiness brought about by friendship actually comes from 20% of your friends only. Yung mga nabanggit po na mga example sa within society and life in general, yun po yung mga 80% of consequences na nananggaling sa 20% of causes or vice versa po.
So next, we have the Pareto's principle analogy. Dito sa analogy na to, we have 20% input and 80% output. Ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin nito? So yung 20% of the input produces 80% of the output. And yung natitirang 80% naman is same lang sila ni Vital Few na yung 80% input is nagpo-produce ng 20% output. So sa madaling salita, yung 20% input is tinatawag na vital few and yung 80% output is tinatawag na trivial many. So bakit tinatawag itong 80-20 rule kung di naman saktong 100? which simply indicates that most things in life are not equally distributed, leading to the fact that the 80-20 rule implies that in any given situation, 80% of the effects is produced by 20% of the causes. So, lagi ba tong 80-20? Syempre, hindi. It could actually be a lot steeper. Pwede tong 85-15, 90-10, 93-7, and etc. So, pwede din tong a little bit smaller, 70-30, 74-26, and etc. Is it always 100 when added? No. It could also be 85-20, 74-10, 91-32. So, why it is being called the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 thing in relation to its nowadays application should not be treated as exact entities but rather a symbolic number. No matter what the ratios are, the bottom line is, it leads us to the certainty that the minority of the causes produces the majority of effects. Same as on the other side, that the majority of the causes produces the majority effects. This teaches us to focus on the more important aspects of life, the vital few, making us to do more by doing less.
How does Pareto's principle be applied in business? So first, ano ba yung mga nakakapagpataas mo na ng kita? To increase revenues, you should try to increase your sales. Kasi kunwari kapag marami kang binibenta, may possibility na mas maraming bibili sa'yo, mas maraming kita mo kasi mas marami yung product na binibenta mo. Next is negotiate better deals with your suppliers. Siyempre, kapag marunong ka makapag-negotiate sa suppliers mo, pwede kang makabili sa mas murang halaga tapos yung benta mo kaya pa rin sa dati. Kunwari, ang dating bili mo sa supply mo 50 pesos tapos nakipag-negotiate ka, naging 30. Tapos ang benta mo talaga 100, edi mas malaki ang kita mo nun. Next, cut excess overheads. So, diba, example, yung business mo is restaurant. Tapos meron kang empleyado na kunwari taga-tig-group ng damit. O, syempre, hindi mo naman yun kailangan sa restaurant business mo. So, aalisin mo na yun para less gastos sa kanya. Tas more income sa'yo, ganon. Next naman is increase prices. So, syempre, sa una kunwari, mababa lang yung benta mo. Tas syempre, sa patagal na patagal, medyo tataasan mo na. Kasi kunwari, marami ka ng suki, ganon. Kapag marami ka ng suki, sure na marami nang bibili sa'yo. Tas kapag medyo tinaasan mo yung benta mo, madadagdagan yung kita mo. So, ayun na. Tas marami pang pwedeng paraan para ma-increase yung sales mo. In short, eliminate waste and improve the process, which is yung Lean Sigma. So, ang tanong is, can a company do all these things simultaneously? So, ang sagot is no. Because sa business, hindi naman talaga kaya pagsabayin-sabayin lahat. So, ang Pareto's Principle is na-applied sa business kasi ang Pareto's Principle yung nagtuturo sa atin na hindi lahat ng bagay ay importante. So, sabi ng Pareto's Principle, dapat nating ma-identify yung vital few. So, ano ba yung vital few? Ito yung pinaka-importanting bagay na nakapagpapataas ng kita natin. So, let's say for example, sa coffee shop, hindi naman mahalaga na dapat taasan natin kaagad yung price ng coffee kasi kunwari kung marami kang competitors, hindi suggestible na taasan mo yung price kasi ang tendency nun sa iba na silang bibili sa mas mura ng coffee shop. So ang vital few ng coffee shop is yung sasarapan pa yung timpla ng kape para mas maraming bumili sa'yo. Kasi kung hindi mo alam gamitin yung 80/20 wisely, may tendency nun na magpo-focus ka dun sa least important thing. Ang mangyayari dun, hindi tataas yung kita mo. Imbis na tumaas, bababa pa siya kasi hindi mo alam yung Pareto's Principle.
What is a Pareto's chart? A Pareto's chart are the common tool used by manufacturers to analyze quality and defect data, providing a simple visual representation as to the frequency of the certain issues and the cumulative percentage of their occurrences. A Pareto's chart is a graph that indicates the frequency of the defects as well as their cumulative impact. Pareto's chart are useful to find the defects to prioritize in order to observe the greatest overall improvement. And to expand on this definition, let's break a Pareto's chart into its components. A Pareto's chart is a combination of a bar graph and a line graph. Notice the presence of both bars and a line on the Pareto's chart below. Each bar usually represents a type of defect or problem, and the height of the bar represents any important unit of measure, often the frequency of the occurrence or cause. The bars are presented in descending order from tallest to shortest, and therefore you can see which defects are more frequent at a glance. The lines represent the cumulative percentage of defects, and in manufacturing, Pareto's chart are used as a quality management tool, and they help analyze and prioritize issue resolution. Okay, the idea behind the Pareto's chart is that the few most significant defects make up most of the overall problem. We have already covered two ways the Pareto's chart help find the defects that have the most cumulative effect. First, the first bars are always the tallest, indicating the most common sources of the defects, and the second, the cumulative percentage line, indicates which defects to prioritize to get the most overall improvement. The Pareto's principle can analyze the Pareto's charts, also known as the 80/20 rule or 80/20 rule. The Pareto's principle states that the 80% of the result are determined by 20% of the causes. Therefore, you should try to find the 20% of all defect types that causes 80% of all defects. Okay, Pareto's chart. Pareto's charts show the ordered frequency counts of data. These charts are often used to identify areas to focus on first in process improvement. Pareto's charts show the ordered frequency counts of values for the different levels of categorical or nominal variable. The charts are based on the 80/20 rule, which means that 80% of your success comes from 20% of your ideas.
How can Pareto principle be applied on? How can Pareto principle be applied on our daily lives? Under social interaction, how do we interact socially? In our daily lives, marami tayong nakakasalamuhan na ibang tao or nagiging kaibigan natin. Pero honestly, sa dami ng tao na nakaka-interact natin, bilang lang sa daliri yung mga nakakapagpasaya talaga sa atin, right? Magkaiba yung kaibigan mo sa saya kaysa dun sa kaibigan mo na talagang dadamayan ka. So, using Pareto principle, why not we prioritize this vital few that we will be able to determine and then minimizing the way we interact with others, and focusing our attention on those persons that actually make us happy. That will be the result. What will be the result if we are going to do that? We're going to save time and found out that we could dedicate some extra time with other more important activities like meditating, studying, and time for family. Next, this can be implied in relationship. Example, may boyfriend ka. Then yung boyfriend mo, pinuntahan ka sa inyo. May dala siyang bulaklak. Then nag-spend siya ng time sa'yo, 2 to 4 hours para lang makasama ka. Mahaba-haba na yung oras na yon. Pero in the end, ikaw na babae, nagreklamo ka pa din. Kasi hindi daw nag-i-spend ng time yung boyfriend niya sa'yo. At eto naman si boyfriend, syempre magtataka. Ngayon, anong reason? Simply because 2 to 4 hours was not spent wisely. Mas nakakapag-spend pa sila sa panonood ng TV, pagsa-cellphone, browsing Facebook, or minsan naglalaro ng online games. So madalas, ito yung nagiging result pag hindi natin alam kung paano gamitin yung oras na meron tayo. Day-to-day usual activity. We usually spend 1 to 3 hours on TV, 3 to 6 hours in cellphone and laptop, 2 to 4 hours to tropating, studying, two to 4 hours to tropating, mga tropa pips. 2 to 4 hours to tropa or barkada. Studying 0 to 1 hour. Minsan hindi pa nakakapagbuklat ng notes. 0 to 30 minutes family time. And also 0 to 10 minutes real friend.